Hello students, this is your teacher Mrs. Pramila Adia from Shet Vidya Mandir Junior College. Today I am going to represent the 12th science students for the subject Information Technology. Dear students, as you know that this time we have new syllabus, and in this new syllabus we have very interesting topics and new technology coming up. So let's start with our online lectures for the Information Technology 12th Science. Now in the first chapter is Advanced Web Page Designing. In this today we will be starting with the three main topics, that is HTML5, CSS and types of CSS. The first is HTML5. What do you mean by this HTML5? As you have seen that in Windows, in Word, MS Office, we have different types of versions. So similarly, there is an upgradation in the HTML that is called as HTML5. This is the current version which is going on. And why do we study this HTML5? This is because in this particular version, it supports the mobile technology. You know that it's very important nowadays that whatever options or whatever softwares we are using, that has to be upgraded. It has to be in the synchronization with our mobile phones. So that's why this HTML also, HTML5, it supports the mobile technology. This is the current phase which is going on. The next is about the advanced features. There are more advanced features which is used currently. We always need advanced features in our files, in the technology which we are using. So that is called as the advanced files. We have it in HTML5 version. And lastly, additional form controls and validation controls. We have studied how to prepare forms in HTML last year. We'll be studying a new technology, that is more advanced form controls over here with the help of HTML5. Okay students, in the next slide we are seeing the topic CSS. When I talk about CSS means cascading style sheets. Style sheets with what exactly? That is the first question which will come into your mind. Style sheets means that is you are giving certain font. In the font you are giving certain decorations, the styling to the fonts, that is bold, italic, underline. In the H1 tag also you can see that you are giving the font color, the font size. These are all called as styles to particular tags. In HTML we had studied the attributes. As you know, while explaining HTML I had told you that while studying HTML, while studying the tags, the attributes are very important, and that is what we are going to do over here. In the style sheets, what happens is when you are giving the attributes to a particular tag, every time in the HTML what we were doing, that is if I want to use body background, body BG color, we have to give every time the body tag and we have to give the attributes. For example, in H1, if I want the font color, font size, then in a particular tag it was not possible for me to give all the attributes together. Same thing we can do in the CSS. In CSS, at a particular time, that is while using the tag, when I am using one particular tag, in that I can give different attributes together. That is the beauty of this CSS. You can see it saves a lot of time. It allows the control, the look and feel of the web pages by changing a single source. How to use the CSS? That is called as the CSS syntax. It is seen over here. A selector, a declaration block, property and value. In the next slide I will just explain you what do you mean by a selector, a declaration block and properties. Now here in the CSS syntax you can see the first thing, that is selector. In the selector you are using the actual tag, that is the tags which we want to use, they are called as selectors. Second thing, in the declaration block. In the declaration block which comes into the curly braces, in that declaration we can give one or more declarations, and that can be separated by a semicolon. For example, here you can see color is given. In that color it is given yellow, font size 11. That means if I am using for H1 tag, that particular sentence will have this color yellow and the font size of that particular sentence will be 11. Each declaration contains a property name and value separated by a semicolon. Now here color is called as a property and the yellow which is written, that is called as a value. So every property and value, these all things along with the selector makes a declaration block. You can see the down selector and there is a curly braces, then the property 1, value 1, property 2, value 2. This is the syntax of using the CSS. Let us move ahead with more about CSS, that is the types of CSS. In the previous slides, you have studied what do you mean by CSS, that is cascading style sheets, how you are giving styles to your tags, styles to your web pages, and then now how to use that tags and what are the types of CSS. When I talk about types of CSS, there are 3 types of CSS. One is inline CSS, next is called as internal CSS or embedded style sheets, and the third one is called as CSS. In the next slide again, you will be knowing what are the types of CSS, the examples one by one. So very clearly it has been explained. The first one, that is the inline CSS. Inline CSS, you can see that it uses the style attribute, that is the style tag you have to use. That is the main thing at the starting tag. After the HTML tag, you have to use the style tag. Inline CSS is used to apply the CSS on a single line or element. This is only for one particular line. That is the example states over here. There is a paragraph tag and with the paragraph tag I have used the inline CSS tag, that is called as the style tag. P is the paragraph tag and then you have a style over there, that is the style tag we are using, and we are using property color and we have given a value to that property, that is blue. That means this hello CSS, this particular sentence when it is written, it will be having the color blue. This is the first example of inline CSS. Now coming to the next type of example of CSS, that is called as the embedded style sheet or internal CSS. Internal CSS, what you have to do is you have to use the style tag over here. This is very important because we will be using this particular syntax or this type of examples or this type of CSS in our files while doing the practicals. You can see the example over here, HTML is given. After opening the HTML tag, this is the regular HTML file. You know the structure of HTML document, that is first we start with an HTML tag, then we have the head tag, after the head tag we have the in the head tag, we have the title tag, after the title tag we have the body tag, and then in that body tag we give all the information whatever has to be displayed on the website, and then afterwards we close the body tag, lastly the HTML tag. So this is how we do it, the regular structure of an HTML document. But now when I have to use the CSS is when you are using, it is written inside the style tag. You can see that after the head tag there is a style tag open over there. You open the style tag and then you write the property, the value, the selector. Here the selector is H1. You have a curly braces over there. You don't use the angular brackets over here. We are using the curly braces. After the curly braces you give the property. Which is the property? That is the color you are giving. And what is the value to that? That is red. So that means in H1 tag whatever sentences I am using here, it will have the color red. Here we have given only a single property and a single value to the H1 tag. This is a simple example to understand what you mean by internal CSS. Then close the style tag. Immediately after that close the head tag. So the head section is over. That means you have to always define your style tag inside the head tag itself. Now regularly open the body tag as you are doing. And now you use the H1 tag over here. Why we are using the H1 tag? Because this tag only we have given the CSS. That's why I am using the H1 tag over here. Write the sentences whatever you want. Close the H1 tag. And then you can see one additional paragraph tag is also opened over here. The paragraph tag shows that this paragraph will not be affected. That means here I am not using any of the style tag. In the style tag I have not defined anything about the paragraph tag. So So this particular sentences will not be affected. As it is, it will be displayed on the website. Close the body tag, close the HTML tag. So this is the internal CSS. Okay students, now moving up to the next type of CSS, that is called as the last type, that is external style sheet. Now here in external style sheet there is a little bit change. That is, here you can see that we have to define, or you have to make or prepare a different type of CSS style externally. How you prepare the HTML file, same way in the text editor, that is your notepad text editor, you will be typing an external CSS file, and that particular link you have to give it into your main file, as you do it in frames. Last year we had studied frames. In frames we had done that way. Then when you are doing the frames, you are linking the files. How to link the files in the HTML file, we have already done this in the link tag. Now how to use this in a CSS file. Here you can see in the CSS file, and the right hand side you can see style.css, one additional file has been made in Notepad. In this particular file, what you are doing is you are not using any HTML tags over here. That is very important while you are using the style.css. You have to first just open a Notepad file. You don't have to use any HTML tag. Same way, as you can see, H1 is written. H1 is the selector, and in the selector the declaration box, that is the color, and you are using the different, you can see two types of properties are used over here, and the properties have a values. Here I am using only H1 tile in this particular style.css file. That's why in the H1 tag you have given the property as color and the value navy with the margin. This is the second type of property, property 2, with the value 2, that is the left 20 pixels. This particular file, I am just typing this particular sentence and saving this into style.css. You are not giving the .html as you give regularly into your HTML files. You give the extension as .html. Instead of that, you are giving .css. Come back to the original file in the example over here. On the left hand side you can see the example HTML head, and here you are using the style tag but in a different manner. This is in the external style sheet. This is the regular, like that only you have to use every time whenever you are using the external style sheets. Link REN, this is the link tag, and here you are giving the name as style sheet, type, that is text/CSS, and now you are giving the name of that particular external style tag file, that is href. In the href you are using style.css. You can see this is the style.css. This is the file where I have defined my selectors and the declaration box. Close the h tag, open the body tag, and now you can see you are using the h1 tag over here. In the h1 tag I have written the sentence, this is heading, and close the h1 tag, close the body, close the HTML tag. This completes your external style sheet. That means whenever this particular file has been opened on the website, you can see the h1 tag, this is heading the sentence. It has the color navy, and also it is left side it is typed on the left side from the margin leaving 20 pixels. So this is the external CSS. Always remember, whenever you want to use the external CSS, you have to save the file with .css. Don't forget that. You will not use any HTML tags in this CSS file, and then link that particular CSS file into your main file with the help of href tag, that is the link tag. So that's all today students, that is for the CSS. So tomorrow we will be studying more about CSS, a very important, a very interesting chapters in the advanced web page designing. Thank you students, thank you very much.